talk and the debate went around the use of innkeeper's tax and tax in general for this project. And community involvement has come up over and over again. And I think part of it is just that a lot of new people who may not know everything we're already doing for community involvement that comes out of the innkeeper's tax. So I'd ask Mike and Felicia to put together, what are we doing? And what have we traditionally done and what are we currently doing? Just so that this group can see that. This is probably something which we'll share with some of our elected officials and the capital improvement board, just so that they understand the way in which we've operated and the role that civic engagement has always played in the convention center. So, and with visibility for that matter as well too, and keeper's tax is always supported that. So I asked them to put together some slides and be able to talk about that. So that's what, when we get to this presentation and business, that's what that's about. That's the context of why it was put together. But wanted this commission to see what we're talking about. BL's got a lot of professionals here in the room who maybe can say, well, what about this? So, and we're on? All right. And we're on and we're off. Okay, right? So this is an official call to order for the meeting. Shouldn't we have like the number of times we've met or something like that? Like the 103rd Congress or something like that. We ought to be able to do something like that for this part. Our first order of business is a review of the meeting minutes from our last scheduled meeting back in March the 18th. You received that in your packet. Don't know if everybody's had an opportunity to run through that or not, or if there are any questions or corrections for the minutes. Take just a minute to look at that, or
will we approve the minutes as submitted?
all right. Have a motion to approve.
I'll second.
And a second. Marcia, would you move us to a roll call vote, please?
Mike Campbell,
Yes.
Kirby Brown,
Yes, ma'am.
Jeff McKim,
Yes.
Trent Sykes.
All right. Next order of business is review of the financials. We'll start with the innkeeper's tax collections through the month of May. Also in your packet, you can see April was a very strong month. I wonder why. So that showed up in those monthly collections for May, being at a higher level than they have been in the past. And at this point, we're actually 2% ahead of tax collections at this point last year. So those events are certainly impactful. May not have been the best month, and so I would anticipate our June collections to be down slightly versus what they have been the year prior, but on the whole, we're tracking well versus what we collected last year, which was in a record year. Questions on the collections through the first part of the year?
Just why do you think May is a slow month?
Anecdotally, and from what we've seen from some of the occupancy levels, some of the business intelligence information that's out there in the industry, May was down in hotels. Now, could be that those that don't report short-term rentals and others may have had a banner month, but business, convention business, I think may have been down a little bit during the month of May. So,
We were significantly down in banquets and catering.
So it's just, it was a slower month.
Are you back?
As anticipated.
June's doing a lot better as far as group.
And then we do have the three financial statements for March, April, and May in your packet. I'll spend most of my time in May. If there are any questions on the other, let me know. We can go back to that. You'll see that we carried over 3.7 million at the first of the year. It's a very much a high watermark for the last several years. And our current fund balance in the general fund right now sits at $3,673,242.49. We will have claims against the general fund. One thing to note on that number is we have pledged $500,000 to the Karst Athletic Field project, which has not been allocated out of that. So that is encumbered, anticipated for expenditure, and so with that, that drops that down to a little over $3 million. And just reduce it by that amount. That's what's really available for funds today. In the capital improvement fund, you'll see that we have a balance of $217,395.21, which is higher than when we started with at the first of this year. And I do know we're making claims against this also today. Sufficient funds there as well. And then in the convention center debt fund, on the existing loan amount, our current fund balance is $434,016.58. And we'll make a claim out of that also today. Questions on the financials?
I move to approve.
Okay. A motion and a second. Marcia, would you move us to roll call vote, please?
Mike Campbell,
Yes.
Kirby Brown,
Yes, ma'am.
Jeff McKim,
Yes.
Trent Seats.
Yes.
Okay. Got Visit Bloomington report in downtown Bloomington, Inc. We are queued up. Were there other things that you wanted to talk about before going into your presentation on civic involvement?
I have just a page of bullet points I was just going to share, but just stuff that's going on that we're working on.
Okay, let's hit it. Let's do that. Go ahead and hit us with the bullet.
Great. I just wanted to let you know, since the last time we met, Sean Ballard has generated 12 new group convention leads, 19 year to date. A lot of good sized groups. A couple of them that are too big. We probably know we won't be able to host, but again, interest continues. As I know Jean has got it in her report too, the Indiana Society of Association Executives is coming up on July 15th through the 17th with their annual their ICON 2024. They've got 150 delegates registered. It is sold out, and those are meeting and event planners that will be here. That Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, right? The 15th. That night, the 15th, the Monday night, we're having a opening reception event at Wonder Lab. You will get an invite to that if you're interested in coming to that.
Sure.
We certainly, and Tricia may talk about this more too, and we've been talking about it. And Sean Ballard in my office is on the ISE. He's our sales rep. He's on the ISEA board. We've been talking, we want to make sure there's some sort of presence here during the conference for those planners to give us feedback on our project. What we're going to tell them we're doing or what they're going to see, it's hard to say. It may just be a conversation. Maybe it's a QR code with a click it and a 5 questionnaire about what's important, things like that. I don't know. We're figuring that out. We'll definitely have that, and we'll invite the Capital Improvement Board and other people to that reception on that Monday night for them to be able to chat some of those. That is Monday, July 15th at Wonder Lab, 6:30 to 8:30.
Okay.
Really looking forward to that. And, other than that, there's Sean's at Meeting Planner International this week, some activity with that, just all kinds of good things going on there. I know I've alerted you all to the Puma basketball tournament that we're very fortunate to be picking up a good number of rooms off that. Hopefully the weekend of July 18th, coming up here in about a month. That is from a large basketball tournament in Indianapolis that's overflowing with rooms. So we love that. We're not, we're looking forward to the Karstfields. We're excited. IU Rec Sports has contacted us again and said they're open to the possibility of us using their facilities again for large tournaments. We've been told a decade or, just all depends on who's working there. The previous person a decade or so told us they weren't interested in that anymore. So that's great. Again, there's new NCAA restrictions we've got to work through about basketball and different sports being on campus, but that's great. We'll be pursuing things with that. We're just not seeing the opportunity to bid on larger 50-plus team traditional amateur sports like we were a couple decades ago when it comes to softball, baseball, basketball, and things. And no complaints here. We're very lucky to have the university and all the sports that come here with that, and the facilities that they offer. But we're just getting kind of hammered with it when it comes to the grand parks and the new sports facilities opening in Lebanon, Indiana, and places like that. So again, we have a lot of great things that we're able to host because of IU swimming and track and field and all that they do and all that. And looking forward to the opportunities down the line. But we certainly feel, it's as easy for me to say as Pete and Lauren and I don't have that many conversations anymore about this huge basketball tournament or this huge softball tournament and things like that. Parks and Rec is more working with USSSA baseball, and they're doing a ton of baseball events, but most of those are day trippers that are coming in from right here in the driving area, and they're still doing a ton of basketball. Again, Chuck Hensley is our contact for basketball. We do a ton of basketball events at Twin Lakes, but again, they're more regional drive-in things. So we know we need to figure out a way to do more with that. So we continue to talk with you about that in the coming months. Launched our redone website last week. It's funny, I know I sent out a partner e-news, said check out our website. I'm not kidding you. Within 30 minutes, the site went down. Nobody said anything, but it did. But it was back up in a couple hours. That was a system-wide problem with SimpleView. But anyway, that's up. It's a brand new site, everything on it, completely redesigned. We're excited about it. We got promotions, mostly digital, running all over the Midwest. Summer travel to Bloomington, Monroe County, featuring IU, outdoor rec, culinary offerings, art, live performances. We launched a Spotify campaign last week. We recently produced several commercials ourselves, and we used a local company in town, Russian Recording, that wrote original music for those, and we're working together with them on that. So it's great to be working with a local partner like that. Last week we hosted 11 travel journalists from publications like the Chicago Tribune, Condé Nast, National Geo Traveler, Travel and Leisure. They were here for 2 nights. We took them to Eskenazi, Grippy Lake, Lilly Library, Monroe Lake, Oliver Winery, Tibetan Mongolia Buddhist Center, did a bunch of culinary experiences. I saw an article today in Green Living Magazine that Sample Gates were on the cover. It looked beautiful. So it was a large article. So we're going to get some good stuff out of that. This is media. We track media coverage of Bloomington in the month of May. I got 38 stories. This page was this was 16 pages long. The April report was 616 pages long. 1,421 mentions of Bloomington in the media in April due to the eclipse. So, I just tell you, we haven't met since then, so I just want to make sure everybody knows. Sunday night, April 7th, we were at 95% occupancy in Monroe County. 1 year previously, we were at 38% occupancy. The market sold this is hotel rooms only, the market sold 2,324 room nights on that Sunday night versus 900 the year before. Monday night was very similar. Just wanted to you know, when it comes to, I don't get the exact, we don't get the exact Airbnb numbers, but I will tell you that in April of 2024, there were 805 Airbnb rentals available in Monroe County, and there were 452 in April of 2023. So those are all, they all sprung up most likely because of the eclipse.
When you say Airbnb, you mean all the short-term?
I mean short-term rentals in general. Everybody that, we subscribe to a thing called AirDNA, so it's short-term rentals in general. So, you know, I don't have dollar amounts on that type of stuff. I just have some of those broader numbers. I'm sorry, I'll wrap it up in a second. We've got our first of 2 Thursday night Switchyard Park concerts coming up this Thursday night in partnership with Bloomington Parks and Recreation. Again, this is out of our strategic plan, increase promotion and development of Bloomington as a music destination. So we've been working on that, working with several music events and our venues. We're having this concert on Thursday night, trying to break open the Switchyard Park. I mean, it's going to be hot again, probably get hurt by weather. Makes me question. And when we first started this, I thought we're going to give this a 3-year commitment as far as these shows are concerned. But last year we got hurt by the heat in August, and we get hurt by the heat in both July and June of this year. It would make me question spending that type of money next year. But I'll talk to you more about that. But we could easily put that into grants and marketing and other things and continuing that initiative.
Is that Jen Christie?
No, that's Friday night. That's the beauty. We've got, ours is, we're bringing in 2 international traveling bands, Y La Bamba from Mexico, and then Tune Yards, which are actually, one of the people in Tune Yards is from Bloomington, but they're worldwide, critically acclaimed. Their most recent record was like Record of the Year with Village Voice, things like that. So, yeah.
It's Thursday at what time?
This is Thursday, starts at 6:30. 6:30 p.m. It's free. Everything's free.
Is there?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I've sent out so much info about it. I feel like I can't send out any more. Let's see. That just had a bunch of media from that. We had somebody come in from Leo, which is Louisville newspaper, stayed all week for Grand Balloon and covered that for us. So far in 24, we've given out 15 grants totaling over $50,000 to tourism events and live performance venues. The live performances must take place on a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday evening. We won't fund Friday or Saturday night performances.
This is part of your presentation.
It's not. I'm done. I'm going to stop.
All right. Felicia?
So I could do a couple quick announcements.
Sorry.
And then Jean has great news on our sales report, so,
Uh-huh.
and then we can.
And then we'll launch it.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So a couple things, we had computer science teachers here last week and early childhood intervention last week. And they took the whole building, they were at several venues in the community. I know they went to the restaurants, kind of like raised some attention for the restaurants to say, hey, we need to be more prepared. We're excited about conference season coming up. And so it was really kind of a good way to get them excited about the potential and the future. So I'm glad that happened. And then with the ARPA funding through Monroe County, it was $1,059,000. And so we'll be doing the cooling tower in a couple weeks. Then we'll, right after ISAE is here. And then we'll do the elevator. It's been pushed back to Monday or till January because of the lead time. Some of the parts are 48 weeks, believe it or not. So that's going to be in January now. Then we are doing the rooms across the hallway. They hadn't been remodeled since 1991, but there were also some mold issues in that room that we needed to address, and just I think putting our best foot forward over the next couple of years to, as we're showing meeting planners around to say we take care of our facilities after they're built. But that's like a really important message. And we'll be doing some of the AV, We are working with the AD contractor that Weddle Brothers, who was chosen to do the construction, that they would be using so that we can reuse some of the stuff that here in the new 2.0 version. Then also, the windows, we were gonna take those out and do like 10 of those, but we ended up with another 20 that had issues, and so I think the architects are, we just need to replace all of these windows, which we do, and I think that'll help the exterior part of the building. And putting those windows in another light, it's easier than I would have thought that it would have been, so I'm excited about that. Because that way, this building can kind of mirror what the next building would look like and all tie together. Then, but we will do some grouting to prevent some water leakage in different areas. So we're trying to hold it together for the next couple of years until we can do a remodel. With ISAE, just to add to that, I did mention ISAE to the Capital Improvement Board. We're super excited about the opportunity to show these new meeting planners, and I think we'll have one of the architects be part of that, and get us a board that we can show at least some of the connections. I don't know if everybody knows about it, they did decide on the east side. So Weddle Brothers was chosen as the construction manager. So they're continuing to move ahead. A BEAD advisory to the Capital Improvement Board was created, basically to take advantage of the fact that we have a cultural district, the Bloomington Entertainment and Arts District. There is 1% to the arts because it will be a city project, and so they can have some input on that as well. But architects have to design that into the space to add art. So all that's coming down the pike. And then the leases, just as an FYI, on the properties to the south in July next month. I'm going to touch base with everybody again and see how we are with renewing any of those leases past July 25. We're trying to give everybody a year's notice. So as that time frame gets a little bit closer, we'll see what happens. They still have to have a site for a host hotel. So that'll be down over the next couple of months to see how all that plays out. So just as reminders, that probably the second possibly purchase the land to the north if somebody wanted to purchase that. There was some discussion of building on top of the hotel. So over the next 3 months, or on top of the expansion to make it taller. So we'll see. We won't get into all of, I know. Whose leak is that, right? But Jean has great news to share also, so I'll turn it over. Hey, Jean, devastating.
So, I, as usual, use an apples-to-apples view of this year to date, which is your first column with sales, room rental, attendance, and so on, and then same time frame for 2023, the year prior. So looking down those columns, you can see that sales and room rental are slightly up, attendance, for all intents and purposes in this case, about the same, and then number of events, same thing, about the same. I am trying to always be careful to put in filters like taking out anything that would not be an actual event. It's a parking lot use from Wonder Lab or something like that, making sure all those things are cleaned out. And then upcoming conferences for the second half of this year. We've already had 7 conferences here this year to date. And as many times as I've looked at this document and updated it the past couple of weeks, I still have just now caught an error. The July conference, of course, is the Indiana Society of Association Executives, not an Indiana Association. So looking at this, this second half of 2024, most of these conferences listed by month are definite. There are a few who are still in the final stages of the contract process because their due dates for the contract have not come up yet. And those, of course, the ones that are further out. You can see which ones have been here, where it's been at least 10 years, sometimes 12 since somebody has been here. And I was happy to see the ones that the ISAE and the Environmental Health Association. I just saw another here.
They're twice.
Twice. Oh my goodness. I think I must have had too many tabs open at once or something. That got away.
That's the way most of them are. They're usually the Indiana Association or something. So you're just,
I'm telling you.
it's a habit.
So most of these are definite. A number of them haven't been here in a while. And then we do have some new ones. And I'm looking down into October, and this is definite, by the way, the American Association of Petroleum Geologists. There is an eastern half of the United States contingent, and that is who will be here out of this group. But that's already definite, and it's brand new for us. So if we wrap this whole year up with all of these coming through and being executed as planned, we will have come out of this year with, I think, 16 conferences all together, which is higher than any that I can track, like going back 10 years, which is just highly unusual. It's usually like 11, 12, 13. So then when we're looking into 2025, there are 12 on this list of what's in the hopper right now, and 11 of them have never been here before ever, which is 11 out of 12. Pretty amazing. A number of these are new to us. A lot of these are new to us, and then a couple of those have already been signed and are definite. A lot of community connections involved with some of these, like this Veterans and Farming Group is in Indiana. Version of a national organization where these veterans, and when we think of veterans now, it's a whole, think more like Desert Storm instead of anybody who might be like our parents or grandparents' ages. It is a whole new bunch, and they're coming back, and it's like, what on earth am I going to do now? Sometimes injured in one way or another, just needing to regroup and get a direction and have something to get up and get ready, go out in the world and do every day. So this is going to be a really interesting conference. And I'm trying to work with the planner for this one to get them lined up to where they can go to see sites and meet people who are making small farming things happen here in Monroe County and surrounding counties. Although it's in January, because of course that's when they can actually attend such a thing. Also, here comes another civic event. We have a definite contract signed for, and this is for April of 2025, the Indiana Vintage Market. And I think everybody who goes to the Music Expo will be the group that shows up for this. Pretty much, I'm guessing, well,
Who's creating that?
Indiana Vintage is the name of the company, and it's a guy who knows Bloomington really well, but he does this same show in other parts of the state. And he's got 30 vendors on deck right now. He's already rented the great room, and everything's available, so he can expand into the rest of the second floor if he needs to. I'm really looking forward to that. Then we get the LPGA Championship Series here again for 2 big award dinners, and that is in July of 2025. Those have already been signed off on, everything's done, so there's definitely, it's just super cool to have LPGA.
So Indiana, the IU, or was it IU Environmental Resilience Institute,
Yes,
500.
yes,
I know it's just for one day.
yes. But there's going to be some hotel activity with this because people are coming from all over the state, and they have been doing this at IUPUI, and then they've just outgrown it.
And it's Abby.
It's Abby
Who
Eagle.
is, she used to work at this
Awesome group.
and Sycamore Land Trust, and she's been with a number of renowned organizations.
Is Spoke Alliance committed?
It's not definite yet, so we'll see.
And the Libertarian Party of Indiana.
I
Annual
know,
Conference.
I know.
That's interesting.
I know, I mean, we get regular interest from all of the known political parties. But this one was kind of big, and I just checked in with this guy recently, and he's still waiting to get people on the deciding committee, the decision makers to sign off on it. They were down to a couple of places.
That would be cool.
Gene, can you walk me through your timeline when you're working with the group? You know, when is the contract due? How do you work that process?
Good question. A lot of times, groups like this will come to us. Well, I'm working on 2026 proposals right now. I've gotten some requests for proposals for 2027, and I just, for a number of reasons, have hesitated or put something out there but not very detailed, kind of like a why wouldn't I, just go for it. But I'm working on 2026 things right now. But typically, conferences of this size come to us ideally about 18 months out. And that can be give or take 6 months. Once in a blue moon, somebody will show up and need like 4 months out. They want 150 people to be here for 3 days. And simply getting the consecutive availability of the rooms that they need is the tricky part at that point. So ideally, I'm going to say a year, that if they hit me up a year in advance, we've got the space, I start to put the details in, make it reserved for them, then their reservation can sit there safely while they're gathering information. Sometimes they're weighing a couple of different venues. Then at some point, you know, after I get all the information entered, which is pretty quick, I send them a proposal so they can have numbers to talk about when they're meeting with their decision makers and whoever the committee people are. So most of the time, it'll come back pretty quickly within a week or so, and they'll let me know we're ready to confirm this event, send us a service agreement. So I send that service agreement, and then they have 30 days to sign that and return it to me. And they have another 60 days after that, so 90 days out is when they have a deposit that's due. And that's typically the room rental price. And that's the only thing they're committing to at that time is the space. And I know that they're going to work with our events manager, Lisa, a little bit further in the process, and they'll go through all the catering things, all the AV things, all of the timelines, signage, and all those details. And so their first commitment is really just to rent the space and get that secured.
So the deposit's due 90 days from confirming?
Yes. Most of the time, people just pay the whole thing. Once in a blue moon, we'll have a new group, or if it's a group where they're dependent upon ticket sales and registrations to come in because they don't have a big bank at the ready. I let people make smaller deposits, just cut them up on a schedule and to get that taken care of. We want you guys to be secure in your reservation also.
But you feel like your typical booking window is about the 18 to 12 month range?
For a conference. It can, yeah,
For this size of conferences.
yes.
If it expands, I would expect that to balloon out a little bit.
I think so too. And Sean, by the way, is sharing with me anytime that he has to, I hate to even say it, if he has to turn down a proposal because we just simply don't have the number of rooms or the square footage. He's sharing that with me so we can both keep the list current.
Well, that's great news. And so you're already landing stuff, you're already working on stuff in 2026, in 2027. So I think that's important for this group and other groups to remember. That is
And the
where,
one lady who calls us every
Yeah.
4 years and says, have you expanded yet?
yeah.
And now there's a guy from
We said, call her
Yeah.
back.
Oh,
I
yeah.
have the list, I have the list.
So we're right at that point.
I know.
If we're thinking about where we are in our booking window, where inquiries are starting to land, we're right at where they're anticipating
We had
an expansion. So excited to see that.
We had a group of over 300 that was here with us for the first time about a month ago. And it was in the middle of May, which, we needed that. And they used a couple of hotels, so it was an all-around good thing. And we didn't know what they were going to think at the end of it. They were great to work with through the process, and they were all over the place. It was really something that demanded quite a bit of vigilance. But at the end of the whole thing, they said, we just loved it so much, we might just come. We were talking about coming here every year, and I thought about the second half of this list, and I'm like, but we do get that regularly. And so if we have 11 new groups out of 12 here for next year, and everybody said, left here feeling kind of close to that, we would have to hurry up that time or something. But a lot of the Indiana associations make that 3-year circle around the state, so.
And so did I say that the intention right now, or the hope right now, is to keep this building operating while the new one is being built, and then.
All right, any questions? Or are we ready to move to the presentation?
Yeah, movie time, right?
Movie time?
Yeah.
Already had popcorn.
Cookies and cheese.
Cookies and chips.
That's not a little bit. So, as Mike was saying, this is in response to some of the questions that we had about, who's there? Some of the, actually, hey, Gene, just ask them to stop, they know they're not supposed to. So this was in response to the question about what kind of community-related civic events do we do? And so, I've never said it's over 300 community-related events. I've always said it's 80% of our business. It used to be 70%. It's like, well, that's pretty incredible. So, we have 450 total events, and obviously those conferences are the drivers, and that's our goal. And if we can schedule those out 18 months in advance, 12 months in advance, then our local groups kind of come in and fill in that calendar. So it's worked very well. Then nonprofits, of course, are frequent users of the space, but they could do training, they could do board meetings, they could be doing fundraisers, they could be doing recognition events, team building, so that not-for-profits use it for a lot of different types of uses. And then, with supporting local art, we've been doing that since we've opened. We've had some interesting events from B-Town Jazz used to be here. Steppenwolf was here. Sheb Woolley was here one time, the One-Eyed Purple People here. Does anybody even remember that song? So, we have used it for different concerts and things to bring the community in. Currently, our two events that get the largest attendance and our 2-day events, Handmade Market, it's kind of a younger group that brings together a lot of makers in the community. Talia Halliday with Gather, coordinates it with her team, and they had 7,000 people here on a 2-day period of time. And it was a flow, and they used the whole building.
So is this free to the public?
Yes, yeah, both of those are. I mean, they can come in and they can look, but people are shopping, obviously, and
So it'd be great to mention
that.
Like
Okay.
168 Etsy booths for 2 days in the entire building.
So while the makers are, and the organizers are paying, it is free to the public.
Free parking too.
So those
Well,
are,
and
let's
it's
not
always
promote that
packed.
too much, because that may not want to be.
Go to the 4th-Street Garage.
But the interesting part is two different demographics, really, but they're both interested in art, and we're helping promote that art scene. Then the Indiana Toy and Comic and IU Soul Review, both of those are ticketed events, but they sure have a strong following. We put this photo in because we do use food trucks for Indiana Toy and Comic. Then also it brings in a lot of different collectors, and some of the local businesses here participate with it as well. And and as IE Soul Review was a concert. And, you know, one of the reasons we mentioned that is they have to bring in their staging and their lighting, and they have to sell a certain number of tickets in order for it to make sense to have a concert here. And if they don't have that capacity for being able to sell the tickets, it really prevents. And so Lotus hasn't been able to be here because they just need to have more tickets sold to pay the cost of like creating a concert venue. The acoustics are good though. And I think in a new building, we want to make sure we focus on that. Then Indiana Heritage Quilt Show. Obviously, Visit Bloomington does a fabulous job coordinating this and brings in people from, they go out to the restaurants. This is a ticketed event as well, but we had a kind of a shoot-off event. The local quilters guild that comes, you know, and they'll come, it seems like they're here 3 times a year and do classes. So that's been a spin-off from that to really dive into that, and has vendors and exhibits and classes all in one building. Then the Hoosier Hills Food Bank, this is a public not-for-profit event. They feature 40 different restaurants that donate soups. The potters donate the bowls. People can pay $25 a ticket, and that money goes to helping Hoosier Hills Food Bank. Then the 100 Cooks Who Care, that's another organization that raises over $100,000 to donate to Big Brothers Big Sisters and MCCSC was the group this year. And you know, are you familiar with 100 Cooks Who Care? People, I think there's probably 60 different chefs, and they can make an item that you're known for, and then invite people and help sell tickets to it. And then Lingo, anybody can attend, and it's Tri-Kappa who has bingo games and win big prizes, but they raise over $150,000 and donate to 12 different not-for-profits in town. And each not-for-profit gets at least $10,000.
So for these non-for-profits, is there a discount or a
Yes.
non-for-profit rate that's given to them so that more of that proceed can go to?
Yes.
So they're not spending it all on overhead, I think that's also something.
And
I think
then
that's-
this is our practice presentation to get into this.
Yeah, I know.
So
It's good.
it's, yeah. Then so some civic events that we've lost for a couple different reasons. May Convention brings in a lot of makers from around the community, and they're actually hands-on building robots and games and water and just all kinds of different things. And they needed a larger space to spread out, but then they also needed some outside space. So they've moved down to Switchyard now, but we didn't used to have Switchyard, so there wasn't a place for them to go. They're starting to outgrow it as well. The Home Builders Home Show is at the warehouse, and so they were here maybe 15 years, and they moved to the warehouse when it opened. They're using 90,000 square feet of space there. They said they could shrink some of their displays, but they bring in big equipment and make big displays, and they make their displays on site. One time when they were making one of their displays on site here, somebody accidentally knocked over the stain, and it just like went over. So, you know, appropriate flooring is important as well. Then the Stone Belt Awards, they brought 600 people because that's how many they are serving right now. They wanted to have everybody in one space. It was just too crowded and it was dangerous. And so we talked with them and said, you know, we can't do this way any longer. But we also wanted to add some conferences just as an example with the local and overnight attendees. So here's, you know, just a sample of, you know, groups that are the conferences, but they have a combination of local attendees and overnight attendees. Then our permanent art collection, building was the first public building to feature art from our local citizens in a permanent way. So now Monroe County owns 31 pieces of art, and some were emerging artists, some are internationally known artists. So when you walk through the building, it's been, collected over time, and we've purchased the art, but it cost us as a partnership with the artists. And it's open to the public for viewing, so that is free to come in and look at.
So, and another part of that is that has been brought up in a lot of conversation by our elected officials, is that public art showcasing what Bloomington is special, and almost mandating that, pointing that out. Well, we're already doing it. And so I think that's a part of who we are. I don't think that would be something we're changing or would want to change. It makes us uniquely Bloomington. We're opposed to that in any shape or form. And I think part of it is just they don't know, maybe, that we're already doing that.
Well, and you've got that bullet there, the gallery walk. I mean,
Yeah.
this is always a venue on the gallery
Right,
walk.
right.
It's
I think
this
I think
room right here.
So I think being able to highlight some things we're already doing like this, I think is probably impactful in the education.
So that wraps up our presentation, and then over to Mike.
Thanks.
So, and part of this is not just the convention center, but how the innkeeper's tax as well as civic engagement. So, this is important.
In our mission statement, the last part of it is, ends always with positively impacting, all the work we do, positively impacting quality of life in the area. But we do a ton of events that, most everything we do, there's a Bloomington audience built. There's a Bloomington audience that's a big part of it, as I'll talk more about. But community events, grants, and obviously we're clearinghouse for all kinds of information that we're sharing with the public. We talked about the quilt show, Felicia did a minute ago, but there would not be an Indiana Heritage Quilt Show if it wasn't for Laura Newton. It just wouldn't exist. Absolutely. Just been the executive director, the president of the board, all kinds of things for 20 years, and just keeps it going. For East Fest, we created that event. I think we're going to be going into year 6 in 2019 with the Mill and Cook Medical, and the union has been a huge supporter of that. Lots of community partners on that. Obviously, it's a tourism event that we're trying to do in January to get a bump. And as Pete Yonkman liked to say, we all sit at home after the holidays and eat leftovers and lay on the couch and watch football. What can we do to get ourselves off the couch and do stuff? And of course, we went for this and obviously tried to bring the tourism factor to it. So always on a late weekend in January. We've seen some growth in it. It's going well. Cook and the Mill love doing it, and that's a great partnership to have. So we'll continue with that for the foreseeable future.
Is
But
that free to the public?
it is free to the public. Thank you, Mike. And we usually have, it has grown a lot. It is free. It's held at the Mill. The first year we had 1,000 or so attendees, and this past year we had well over 5,000 on that Saturday.
There was a lot of people just walking.
Yeah.
Was it the first year that were pouring rain the whole time?
Oh yeah, it was 45
Seasonal
degrees.
weird, yeah.
Yeah, and then we've gotten lucky. We've really gotten lucky
Yeah,
with
last year
weather
As that corridor continues to develop and things continue to go out there, I really see this as a hybrid.
They're putting that new building there, and they're also soliciting for that corner lot. So in the future, and we stay in the streets, and so we could use it. It'll really be up to Pat Easton if he wants to try to continue doing it there, but we could obviously transition that event very easily to Switchyard Park or somewhere if it just got really, they didn't want to do it anymore. But I love doing it there. It's a great venue for us. And we'll continue to try to do that, so.
And that's funded through the increased tax.
Yes, it
I mean,
is.
there's
Yes, it is.
sponsors, but it's
Yeah, it is. Visit Bloomington and the Mill and Cook paying for that together, as well as soliciting sponsorships and making it work. In Cosmic, I talked about these. I think somebody had mentioned the Bloomington Music Expo that we helped create a few years ago. That actually, we moved to Switchyard Park, but I could easily see it moving back to the convention center when it's at capacity wherever it's at in our community. So I could see it moving back to the convention center. But again, these are free and open to the public. The Cosmic Songwriter Festival isn't, but that's just again a music festival we helped create with that organization. Happens Wednesday through Saturday in the community, and there's a lot of good stuff and open to the community. Just want to put that on there. The Switchyard Park concerts that I talked about, again, that's a photo from last year. We hope to build on that audience for this year, and again, we're really doing this to, it is a free event, probably the best event Visit Bloomington does that is for the community for free. A ton of work goes into those. And like we said, that's hopefully will lead to more recognition, awareness, and business for the music industry in our community. Beyond the Gates, Eagles Over Monroe, IU Family Weekend. Again, those are events we helped create. I mean, they do have some community benefit there. Beyond the Gates is about getting students out past the sample gates. Eagles Over Monroe is watching the Bald Eagles in January. We all know what IU Family Weekend was. That's what we helped create with them, the Freshman Family Weekend back in whatever year that was, long time ago, that we're not doing anymore.
They do it, but we don't.
Limestone Month is happening right now in June. Back when Lotus first started, we were responsible for getting them their hotel rooms and different things that we did for them. So they've advanced quite a bit with that.
Are you still financially supporting these organizations?
Yes, we are through grants and different marketing things that we do.
Important to raise them.
It's coming. I think it's coming up on the slide. Again, these are some examples of some sporting events that we help to bring that are open to the public as well, that the community can enjoy. And so this is what I'm talking about. Since 2009, we've awarded 95 grants and over $350,000 in funding. We took a couple of years off there with the pandemic, obviously, but that's a program where it's a guidelines and measurement, and they have to submit applications, and we score those and evaluate them. They have to submit a summary and all that for us to continue working with them. So. But again, we work with all kinds of community partners on that, and let me tell you, I look for a reason to say yes. If we don't want to fund it, I'll usually call them and try to work something out with them to change their application so that it works for what we're trying to do, because we just want to help them any way possible. And these are the two that we have going again this year. The one that we created in 2009, which is for tourism marketing. So Lotus could apply for up to $5,000 in marketing funding to use outside of Monroe County. And then the live performance one that I talked about earlier, that we've already given out 15 of those for 2024. That's up to $2,500, and you can use part of that on talent, and you have to use a portion on marketing and that type of stuff.
Just add, that amount is huge for some of these small venues. It makes a big difference.
Yeah, when we're able to offer them $1,000 to help pay the band and provide a hotel room for them, we can just get a lot more touring bands that are attractive to people who might want to drive here for it. But yeah, the visitor, just again, we're a community resource. We've got the visitor center out there, the website, promotional information. I think I told Mike this. We've got our consumer e-news goes out to a little over 40,000 people each month, and 8,125 of those people are from Bloomington. So again, they're using us as a resource for that information. We couldn't provide that to them without being able to do the work we do and get it through the Innkeeper's Tracks. So,
Last week when we had the early childhood educators here for the 2-day conference, the building was like a beehive, and every day I would do a circle with a big stack because of DD2 guides to refill them where they live throughout the building, because they kept disappearing, and I was, from all over.
You know, definitely local tourism and people doing stuff in their own backyard is a big part of what we do. And
So overnight pays the bills, but has a great impact on the community in which we live. So I think I really wanted you to see this and what we're putting together as we're talking to not only the capital improvement board, but other members of our elected officials in their respective bodies as they're asking what we're doing with some of this funding. I think it's important for us to relay a messaging about how involved we are in the community, because that's come up over and over again, the civic need for space. And that means not just the building of a convention center. So questions on this or thoughts you had, and as you're looking through this, that you think might either strengthen that or things maybe questions?
Would you say that you're giving more grants out more recently? You said you gave out 15 so far this year, with only 95 since 2009. So it sounds like you're doing.
yeah, because I mean we lowered the amount that you could apply for, and we let the venues can apply for 1 grant per quarter. So the bishop could apply for one once each quarter, 4 times per year. Whereas like Lotus, or not Lotus, I'm just using them as an example, but the 4th Street Festival of the Arts could apply 1. I mean, they only have 1 event anyway, so most of them are for that one special event. And one thing I want to say too about what Jean was talking about, she talked about that vintage market, and we've been saying this for years. When this expansion happens, it is going to allow us to track those people down that are doing that vintage market, and those people in our community. We have such an incredible creative community of people that would love it if we could help them figure out a way to pay the rent on the building. We can help them create these types of events that they might want to do. I mean, there's just so much talent here to do that. All kinds of art events and makers and music and stuff.
So is the Orbit Room, they received a grant?
Yeah, a couple of them.
That's great.
Oh yeah, all of them.
Orbit,
Orbit, Bishop, Lockhouse, Buskirk Chumley, the Bluebird, the Auditorium have all received them. Probably a couple of the Far Gallery has received 2 for Sunday night concerts, which are great. Yeah.
I will connect the vintage, Indiana Vintage Market guy with either Sean or who do I connect him if it's not a convention?
Yeah, George, myself and Jordan.
Okay.
Just connect him to me.
Yes.
I'd like to say hi, and I'll
Yeah.
ask him how we can help him.
We also had this is an incredible thing. There's a society, it's a national thing. I don't know if the word vintage is in there, historic button collectors. This is a thing, and it's huge. It's bigger than we had space for, and I'm not kidding. And it goes on for like 6 days, which I don't have all the number in the months that they were considering for this venture. And I took the whole proposal into tuition, and I was just like, can you read this? But a lot of these people are historical collectors. And every single little button is like a miniature piece of art. Unbelievably valuable stuff. And then they have like a big swap meet that's, mostly it's not open to the public, it's just for people who are in that group. But I can't, of all the things that you could start a society for.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
digging through the button box and I still a kid now. But think about it, I mean, from the history of mankind beginning, people have made buttons at some point forward out of everything you could possibly think of.
William Shatner could write a story about it. History of buttons. I did want to mention too that, I know I'd shared this with you, the Kiwanis Hot Air Balloon Festival that happens in October at the Monroe County Fairgrounds for several years has moved this year to the Lawrence County Fairgrounds. You know, we lose events all the time. It's not the first one, but we lost the mineral and gemstone to Lawrence County a few years ago.
Oh,
And now they're coming back.
Right.
So it comes around.
They're preserved.
I think that, I think the Balloon Fest, I'm not exactly sure, I just may have had to do with logistics and some space issues, I'm not exactly sure, so.
So we'll use this presentation, or parts of this presentation, as your topics for elected officials and others who are very interested in civic engagement of our organization, what we're doing, and wanting to make sure that the convention center continues that. So all that's fair. I think we just maybe have not told our story very well. So this is designed to help with that. If there's suggestions you have, please reach out to Alicia.
Are any of the grants that you've been giving for smaller events, any of them been related to kind of youth and teen programming? Particularly, that seemed to be an interest.
I mean, other than maybe some they're open to all ages, but I don't think anything is specifically targeted at youth.
Maybe the holiday shows, I mean, I don't know if it's the same thing for the classroom. But that's not the same.
I don't know if we've done a kid.
Yeah, that's more cute. That's more yes.
And part of it's finding the group who does that type of thing. My understanding is getting teams together to have an event is,
Right.
I mean, you gotta be the right person, the right organization, and
It just sounds like this might be
isn't
at
an
least
easy thing.
a funding opportunity if
Yes.
such an organization were to put something together, but the resources might be there to provide them. So,
I mean, maybe Warehouse Big Brothers Big Sisters, maybe they have some things that might be interesting.
I know everybody misses Rhinos.
Asked about it.
And that was one of them.
Yeah.
You've got your leader who.
And I know who
Do
puts so
that.
much personal effort. It really does take a lot of personal effort.
Let's go ahead and move on, and we'll go through claims approval, and then we do need a brief discussion about the budget moving forward, and then need to get you guys out of here so that you don't spend the whole afternoon. Only so much is taking a small dosage per day. We do have several claims before us today, and then one additional one that came in a little bit later that we'd like to talk about. But the first claim that's before us today, it's on the list is on your agenda if you're following along. The first one is for third quarter operating funds for Visit Bloomington. And this is in the amount of $492,313. This is a budgeted expense. Questions or comments?
Move to approve.
Motion and a second. Marcia, would you move us to a roll call?
Mike Campbell,
Yes.
Kirby Brown,
Yes, ma'am.
Jeff McKim,
Yes.
Trent Seats.
Yes. Correct.
I brought an extra one.
No, actually.
Yeah, look, Mike's like everybody's.
You can have it.
Jeff and Pam, please sign the
How many pens do you have?
bill. Second claim before us today is for professional fees for the second quarter for this body in the amount of $147.50 to Marcia Roach.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Marcia, would you move us to a roll call vote, please?
Mike Campbell,
Yes.
Kirby Brown,
Yes, ma'am.
Jeff McKim,
Yes.
Trent Seats.
Yes.
Mike, you can just keep them there and I'll.
Okay.
I don't need to get up every time.
Great. other claim before us today is third quarter operating expenses for convention services for Downtown Bloomington, Inc. This is for $100,256.25. It's a quarterly payment that is budgeted. Questions or concerns?
Second.
Motion and a second. Marcia, would you move us to a roll call vote, please?
Mike Campbell,
Yes.
Kirby Brown,
Yes, ma'am.
Jeff McKim,
Yes.
Trent Sims.
Yes.
Next one is, we had mentioned sponsorship for ISAE, or the ISAE conferences coming in. We do have a claim for $12,000 put in by Downtown Bloomington, Inc. This would go against commissioner expense to help with some of the food, offset some of the costs of the food, the board activities, and some enhanced hospitality assistance in order to help us sell a new convention space for this project. Questions or concerns on this?
We approve.
Motion and a second. Marcia, would you move us to a roll call vote, please?
Mike Campbell,
Yes.
Kirby Brown,
Yes, ma'am.
Jeff McKim,
Yes.
Trent Sims.
Yes.
Next claim before us is the loan payments for the properties and the convention center renovation on this facility. That is in the amount of $159,000. The payoff on this, the final payoff is April 1st of 2026. So we are starting to get to a point to where we probably need to look at how we retire this loan as we're starting to, we're budgeting for 2025, really close to April 2026. And so we probably need to, at a future meeting, maybe at our next meeting, look at what our plan is for when this actually gets paid off. Questions or concerns on this claim?
We approve. Second.
Motion and second. Marcia, would you move us to a roll call, please?
Mike Campbell,
Yes.
Kirby Brown,
Yes, ma'am.
Jeff McKim,
Yes.
Trent Sims.
Yes.
Okay. And then the last claim that came through, which is not on your list here, but it is something we talked about, and is for the Convention and Visitors Bureau or Visit Bloomington, and this would be out of convention expense, and it's for $50,000, but it would be for offsetting costs for the music initiatives and venues like we had done last year for out at Switchyard and the two performances we had lined up. So that would offset. Mike, talk a little bit about that since we didn't have a chance to look at it prior.
Both of those, well, it would be for our music initiative efforts. And those shows, each one of those with talent and production and marketing is between $40,000 and $50,000 to produce. And like I said, we'd love to, this would help us pay the sound company, and those expenses continue to just skyrocket each year. So again, want to be very careful about spending those dollars and what we're doing with them there. So that would be very helpful. And just allowing us to, like I said, we just launched a Spotify campaign. This would, and that's not all music related. That's promoting all the things I talked about before. But we'd like to keep running that through the end of the summer and into the fall, and even do some stuff around the holidays, which is a slower time for us. And this money would be very helpful for that.
So this would go against commissioner's expense. We have $150,000 budgeted annually. We just approved a claim for $12,000, and that's the only expense we have to date against that budgeted item.
How much your total estimate, I know you have an exact number, I wouldn't think, but the music initiative everything you're doing towards that piece of the puzzle? About how much do you think you're spending annually?
On the music initiative, about $250,000. Just when it comes to, and that means that's marketing and everything. So if we're running ads on WGN or the Chicago Tribune, they may include a music component, but we're also just promoting normal summer travel and all that type of
Some
stuff.
overlap.
Of course.
But about 250,000 a year.
Yes,
But the rest of that would come out of your budget.
yes,
And that, okay, and then
Or
you're
any
asking for
sponsorships.
$50,000 enhancement.
Yes. yes.
One thing that I thought was super cool was the bus that has Bloomington all over it and Indianapolis driving around Music City, Bloomington.
We're talking about some of that. We did
It's
buy the
very
back of
cool.
the bus. That was only $660 for
Yeah.
an order a month. So we may do some more of
It's
that.
cool, isn't it cool? It's cool.
Yeah. We may do that. We tried to buy Chicago, but the company, yeah, so we could look at some stuff like that.
Do you guys do the ads that are for Bloomington on Indiana Weekend Review? Who does that? Who's doing those?
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't know what they are. Is that Inside Indiana Business? What is that?
It's a, I mean, I listen to it as a podcast. It might also be a show, a radio or TV show, but I listen to it as a podcast. But yeah,
What
they
do
started-
do you know what they say? What the ads say?
I can't remember. They mentioned Knicks.
It probably is us, then. It's probably one of our new spots.
What's it called?
We don't buy, we're buying, so we wouldn't buy that program on its own. It comes in a block.
Okay.
But-
Something like that.
I just noticed that they've started airing the spots for Bloomington.
If they just started, then that's us.
Yeah.
That's great to hear because we haven't, I just heard from a buddy who heard one of our commercials. He was on his boat on Lake Michigan on Sunday. He heard it on WGN. I was like, that's great. So it's great to hear that because we don't know other than just clicks and stuff.
What's the WF on my eye? Okay. I look at it now. It's hard. I love hearing.
So you have 250 in your budget
Yes,
right now?
right now.
So this 50 we're giving is just counteracting some of that, or is that allowing you to try to do additional?
It's gonna allow me to do more. Absolutely.
Okay. I move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Marcia, would you move us to a roll?
Mike Campbell,
Yes.
Kirby Brown,
Yes, ma'am.
Chuck McKim.
Yes.
Trent Seats.
Yes.
All right. Class today. The next item to talk about is the 2025 budget. If you want to look at what our current budget is, you can look at one of the financial summaries in your packet. And in your far right, you'll see what our budgeted amounts are in that top section under general fund. So we'll continue to fund the convention center debt fund at the same level. Capital Improvement Board, we typically, or the Capital Improvement Fund rather, Capital Improvement Board, Capital Improvement Fund for upkeep of this building and then the Visit Bloomington building and other properties that we're affiliated with. We've put in about $50,000 a year, but been able to expend about $100,000 is what we put in there. We're getting to a point to where we may not need as much as the properties that we'll be responsible for may be shifting. So, but I would urge us to stay at that same level. And being able to expend $100,000 without going forward to the county council and asking for additional funds out of that. But we'll probably still continue at that 50,000 level, or as we need to put money up to that point. So as far as commissioner's expense, we've run at $150,000 for the last 2 budget cycles to be able to handle music or things that come up, incentives from meeting planners and things of that nature. So we're moving into an era where we're starting to look at promotional material for an expanded convention center, potentially some enhancements to a website in order to sell that. We might look at bumping that a little bit. I don't know how that would be received by the county council, to be able to put a large number just under commissioner expense. I want to make sure that they understand what that means and what that's there for. So I don't necessarily want that to go too high, but it's easy enough for us to move that to 200,000 with the understanding that we'll probably be funding some things like online materials, enhanced websites, and things like that, unless the county council would want us to include that into an organizational budget, such as Visit Bloomington or the Convention Center. But I would love to be able to keep some control over that, just to make sure that that's expended properly. So that would be my recommendation, is to move that from 150 to 200,000. And then my recommendation would be to give Visit Bloomington a 5% increase, and Downtown Bloomington 8% increase. If you look at the total dollar amount, you can see that the total dollar amount going to Visit Bloomington is much higher. So the percentage is a much larger dollar amount. And as we're getting into a time frame where we're starting to coordinate more with the Capital Improvement Board and doing some work in this building, some additional funding for DBI makes some sense to me.
Have you done the math on those percentages? Like, what is the dollar amount that you're talking?
Yes, so it would be an increase of $32,000 roughly for DBI, for Convention Center Services, and then $98,000 increase for Visit Bloomington. So $98,000 to Visit Bloomington, and $32,000 additional to DBI. So, and that's at 5% and 8%. That still brings us in tax collection, and it's no money allocated for rental properties, because I do think next year in 2025 we'll probably have to talk about the very strong potential of no more lease income. That means we would need to collect about $3,389,000 to break even. But as you can see, for the last 2 years, we've been well over that. We're on pace to do that again this year.
What was that figure again?
$3,389,320 if we would accept all recommendations, and 5% to Visit Bloomington, a $50,000 increase in the commissioner's expense, DBI, $32,000 increase, in keeping all of this. That would, if our collections are the same as last year, in 2023, we would generate still a surplus of $574,000. So I don't think it's cutting the margin close. It's stretching it. Questions or concerns or other recommendations? Budget guidance?
I definitely support, I support all of your recommendations, but in particular, the increase in commissioner's expense to 200,000. I think it makes a lot of sense to have that flexibility in particular to start thinking about promoting the future facility.
Just have a quick question, timeline-wise, with like sales deployment in alignment with the new expansion. When do we think, has any discussion been on when do we add an additional salesperson and try to sell the additional space? If so, where's that funded out of? Which entity's paying for it?
So we have talked about that, and Mike and Talish and I have talked about that in particular. When do we bring on more sales personnel to help with that? And they're anticipating, or they're talking about an opening date of the expansion in 2027. And so the budget cycle for 2026 is the likely timeline to bring on an additional person.
Okay, so what's the target for having somebody in place prior to the estimated opening time? Are you looking at a year out? Are you looking at 18 months out?
Right, I do think we have some talent already in that sales area, so we'd just be adding to that.
Right.
And so if you brought somebody in 2026, you would potentially have, and real likely have 10 to 12 months prior to opening. So,
So with the booking, I was just thinking with the booking window being 18-ish months now, bigger convention center probably takes you to 3 years,
right.
right? So the existing staff is preliminary, so they can handle it for a while. Do we think 12 months isn't enough in
Well,
advance?
I don't know the answer to that. I would love more time, but, and that doesn't mean to push it back more time. Meaning I would love to be further along in what we're actually going to be selling, but there's still some decision on what we sell and how we sell it.
Right.
And so I think it would, if we brought that person on board prior to having those things worked out, I'm not sure that that individual could help contribute as much as they could from within that.
But
I
that
think the
also-
other piece is we gotta look at incentives.
Yes, but that also puts
Sign-
together the
sign
timeline for
early.
when we need to have those questions answered, so you can get somebody in place and know the parameters they're selling.
And one thing this group needs to think about is what is our incentive package for year one? So if you sign in 2027, what do we do for that convention? You really have to think about that to
Right.
start us quickly.
And so then would that be a commissioner expense also? Is that-
Or a separate line item that we would put budgeted in one of our organizations. I don't want to necessarily be the manager of that. I'll just.
Well,
I'd
and you
want
know, a
somebody
couple of
who's
the new
managing that,
facilities
manage
that
that.
will
Yeah.
remain nameless are like, there's not a room rental with it, like we wanna get you here. You have a food and beverage minimum or, but that room rental is in the middle block. So that'll be a big
Right.
decision to make. Are you on the marketing, you're on the marketing committee, right? I think, maybe, remember last time the marketing, so we should get together and talk.
Might want to do that.
So I think
Go
that's,
through that.
that's where we're headed. And we've got some decisions to make and some planning to do. And so as we continue to work forward, I think those are all questions. We're starting to hit the timeline where we need to start making adjustments and deployments. Your point is very well taken, is that we are right at the timeline when things are looking right now for 2027.
Right, exactly. So, okay.
Yes,
I was anticipating maybe asking questions about the increase, but I do have on there, you're prepared to hire a second sales representative in 2025, obviously working with your group. And my mind had been, just like you said, make sure we knew what we were doing by the end of the year and then do that in early 26. And then they just start hitting the road with Sean and learning the ropes. I think it'd be a junior type salesperson.
And that's kind of where my thought process with even asking the question is, if we're looking at the budget for 2025, do we need to bring in somebody by the end of 2025 that needs to be approved for that budget now? Or is that a couple meetings down the road that we can kick the can until we have more information and things of that nature?
I think so, and I think as we get closer to it, I think the county council, who's the body we report to, is very aware that we're moving at this thing diligently, but also with not a lot of information right now.
Right.
And so I think as we get closer to that timeframe, even if we started somebody in 2025, we could potentially go back to the county council.
And add.
I was gonna say, yeah, I
Okay, that,
Add funds.
That's-
So it's
that's
not
more
a
my
do
concern.
now
I don't
or
wanna
forever
leave-
hold your peace. It's,
Right.
if the money is there, it makes sense to you, and I think it will be there.
I just don't wanna leave whichever entity is responsible for paying
Yeah.
for this additional
Oh, yeah.
person hamstrung, and then it's like, well, we can't do it right now because it's not in the budget.
Yeah.
And then that puts everything else behind, because we don't want
Right.
a long ramp period for this thing.
Right. We've done a lot of work to put ourselves in a very good position at this point, and so, I mean, we're at a point where now we're reaping the benefits of what we did last year and so forth.
Okay, cool.
So those would be my recommendations for
Do you
this
need a
budget
motion
cycle.
to approve your recommendations?
I
Is that where
would
we're at?
need a motion for that. Actually, I think I put forth the motion because I've recommended these things, and then so it would be a second.
Sounds good. Did you already second, or you just said you were okay with the ones? I second the whole motion.
Do the hand too in the notes, because they.
Please note. Let it be written, let it be done. Put that somewhere. I read that.
All right.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Mike Campbell,
Yes.
Kirby Brown,
Yes, ma'am.
Jeff McKim.
Yes.
Trent Sieg.
Yes. So we'll go ahead, we'll present that to the county as it's been proposed. Any new business we haven't talked about? I have been to several city council, county council, and other meetings. I have talked with several members of our elected bodies as well, a little bit about who we are and what we're doing and how to coordinate. I am meeting with a member of the capital improvement board to start talking about who does what and start to talk about, find out more about what their timelines are. As I understand it, they are moving towards an RFP for the new hotel that will be attached to the convention center. There are a lot of hoteliers here who know what they're talking about, so hopefully they'll be able to reach out and say, what do we actually need, which type of, so I hope supporting meeting space is the first thing that I can think of, and then adequate parking to handle.
And that they have a sales staff too. I mean, that's kind of an interesting.
And being able
Point last
to have blocks or make blocks.
And a booking policy.
And
Partnership
things of that
booking
nature.
policy.
Yeah,
So
That's the.
Yeah, well, hopefully that would be in the those requirements.
so that would be
should have
part
to
of
be
that
in the
requirement, how
RFP,
many
yeah.
days out, when can it release factor? So those are all things that I know they're starting to embark on and hopefully we'll be able to get some input. So. Any old business, things we need to hash out again?
But I got
All right.
mine, so.
Okay, well, in that case,
Timing is good.
Jeff, would you like to adjourn us? All right.